Welcome back. Today, I am super excited. I have a great interview lined up. I talked to Grant Stoner, who is a journalist in game accessibility. He's got some great points of view. Let's go right into it and see what Grant has to say. As usual, I'll try to have lists of all the things that he mentions, any links that are relevant in the description below. I know you as a journalist on Twitter. That's like where I interact with you and where I see your stuff.
Yeah,
So I know you as a journalist. If you wouldn't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself, your journalism, and I'm assuming since you focus on games and accessibility, you're a gamer. Tell us what kind of games you like to play.
yeah. My name is Grant Stoner. I'm a disabled journalist covering accessibility and the disabled perspective in games. I like to interview developers based on what they're creating, how they're making their titles accessible, how disabled people interact with the medium, how it works for them, how it fails them, what they need, what they don't need, and common misconceptions that only disabled voices can clear. And for me, I've been gaming since, gosh, I've been 3 years old. I play everything from shooters to RPGs to strategy games to roguelikes. I've really been into Hearthstone the past few weeks. My friend got me onto that, so I've been doing that lately. But primarily, I would just play whatever my friends are doing. If it's something that we're into, then we'll hop on. If it's a slow period of gaming, I usually just play Pokemon, which I'm sure you've seen me be very
Yeah,
excited about.
yeah, yeah. Uh,
Um,
if
but yeah,
somebody's hearing this right now and they're like, "Whoa, that sounds cool," where would be the best place for them to find you and to find your work?
so primarily you can find me on Twitter at super underscore crypt 1994. And you can find my work all throughout publications in the gaming industry. IGN, Wired, Inverse, uh, primarily anywhere that lets me write about accessibility in video games.
Yeah, yeah, right on. I saw your Wired article on the new Sony Accessible controller, and we can talk about that later. For
Mhm.
now, let's stick with you. Um, so you've been in Wired, you've been in IGN, you write. Do you focus always on accessibility when you write?
I would say primarily, but that's my main beat is accessibility. Um, I'm open to covering all forms of video game journalism, but the thing that I am most comfortable with and most known for would be accessibility pieces.
Yeah, and so I guess I think it's important. I've seen a bit of this. I know you've seen a ton of this, but there's a lot of nasty, like just absolute vitriol when it comes to accessibility in gaming. And I don't feel like we need to debate that topic at all. That's stupid. Accessibility is good.
Yeah,
But I think the existence of all that vitriol it really brings up a point of how important your job is. Do you have anything to say about that, or I mean, do you feel the same way that game accessibility journalism is helping kind of combat that?
I would say maybe not combat because we've seen the exact opposite with like every time a new FromSoft game comes out, we've seen people react even more negatively to pieces. But I would say it helps normalize this perspective. So where it used to be very niche, you wouldn't really hear about it, you wouldn't really read about it, aside from maybe forums or the occasional post on a publication once every like half a year or something like that. If we continue to publish these kinds of stories, more and more people will be used to the idea that disabled people play games rather than, oh, this article came out last year. I read something on this. Whereas now it's like, oh, this just came out, this piece just came out, this review for this game just came out. And it helps to show people that there's not a universal way
Mhm.
to play video games if we keep having these kinds of stories repeated over and over.
That's a really good angle. Yeah, kind of normalizing it. Yeah, that does make sense because it seems like the discourse, even with the people complaining, it seems like this is becoming more and more like we're used to it, and we're used to. It's almost to the point of a meme that these people are so upset that the game might have things in it that aren't for them specifically. Um, yeah. So as a writer in this area, what struggles do you have aside from finding work? I know what being a
Yeah.
freelance writer is like. It's always tough. But what struggles do you have in the area of gaming and writing about accessibility?
I would say two areas. Primarily convincing publications that this is a worthwhile beat to invest in. A lot of the editors that I work for now are familiar with my writing. They love accessibility journalism. They're more willing to produce content like this, but there's still no full time jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's almost like we're slowly pushing acceptance in a positive direction. But for me, I'm impatient
Yeah.
and I wish it was happening sooner. But I also understand that like you can't make everything happen overnight. You need to teach people and show the industry that this is a worthwhile beat to cover. And personally, I would say one of the harder aspects of my job is not every game is accessible to me. And being a reviewer and a writer, it's difficult to speak about these games if I physically can't play them.
Yeah.
So sometimes that limits the work that I can do, which impacts uh, not only how much I can earn, because I can't speak about it, but also the ability to mm, educate others on these games. Because if I can't write about them, and if no one else wants to write about it, then it won't get covered.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. Um, do you feel so? So Microsoft put out their accessible controller, which was a fantastic initiative. Microsoft has just been kicking butt in that area. They also did
Amazing.
some Windows devices recently.
Hmm.
Those, and then Sony, of course, just put out theirs. Do you feel with these big companies doing big budget devices like that, like that cost them millions to make? Do you feel like that might make it a little bit easier to be taken seriously by some of these outlets?
I feel like the more studios and companies create these solutions for disabled people, the more the journalism outlets will have to realize that we need to cover these because these are breaking news and these are like worthwhile innovations
Yeah,
that win awards, they receive countless recognition pieces, and if these outlets aren't covering them, they're missing out on views and
Hmm.
further pieces and further knowledge to be able to talk about these devices. So yeah, I definitely think the more that studios create devices and software, the more this will make the journalism industry realize that this is necessary.
Yeah. It's a tough industry, though, man. I mean, just getting a full time journalism job at all right now
It's brutal.
is a nightmare. Yeah.
It's brutal, yeah. I would say that all of the editors that I've worked with at the varying publications have been incredibly kind and respectful, and they want this kind of coverage. They just don't really know how to do it appropriately.
Yeah.
So while disabled people are rightfully asking, why isn't this normalized? It takes time.
Yeah.
And that they do care. They just want to ensure that they're doing it appropriately, respectfully, and not presenting misinformation.
Yeah.
But they do care about this audience.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's good to hear. It's evident in the fact that they're hiring you to do this when it's still kind of rare. Being a person who writes, I think it would be interesting to get your take on this. Um, I've been doing these. I do, the custom controllers and stuff. I've been doing it for 10 years now, and sometimes
Mhm.
I write about it, whatever. And over the years, there's been changes in the verbiage that you use, and I use the term disabled gamer, and I got this by following the community. Like I don't present as disabled in any way, so I feel like I kind of have to be extra careful with how I word things. And so I use what I see the community using, and people correct me all the time or try to correct me, and they say, "Oh, that's dehumanizing. It should be a gamer who has a disability or whatever." And I'm curious what you think about that because I can see why they try to correct me on that because that is kind of a linguistic thing that you learn that it should be person first. But the community uses disabled gamer, right? What are your thoughts on that?
I always try and do what the community identifies itself as,
Yeah,
because they're the ones who are being presented in the piece. It's their voice, it's their opinions, it's what they're trying to teach, and the messages they're trying to say. But also, you have to depend on the publication's writing styles.
hmm,
So you may want to do something, and usually editors will listen, and they're very kind. But occasionally, publications will just say, "This is how we have to do it," and you have to obey that. You have to, because those are the rules that all the writers follow. They've been established since the publication's founding.
yeah,
But usually, I am able to do what disabled people want in terms of identification.
right on. So, do you have any more thoughts on journalism and or accessibility you want to go into?
I think primarily there's always this notion that you have to be this trained professional who receives a degree and who has all this formal training. But the real like way to become a journalist is just practice. Like create your own blog. Keep pitching. Just keep refining your voice and your words to be able to have it flow and be enjoyable to read. You don't need this elaborate degree or um, years of experience to become a writer. I myself went to college for journalism, but I didn't really learn much. Most of my experience came from just writing at the school newspaper, writing for myself, and just having friends just edit it and refine my skills as I became more comfortable with my voice. Um, and just put yourself out there and just write and see what happens. Because you never know, you could become a journalist
Yeah,
if you
that's a
try.
great point. I don't know if you're familiar with my day job. I'm senior editor at a magazine.
Yeah.
And let's forget about the whole accessibility topic. Just generally speaking, if somebody's reaching out to me pitching ideas, the first thing I do is just go and look and see what they're writing. I don't ever
Yeah.
look at their education and their
Yeah.
history. I just look and see what they're writing. If they've
Hmm.
got a personal blog, that's fine. If something I can read, you have to have something. You can't just show up with a pitch and have nothing to stand on. But yeah, that's the absolute most important thing is just having something I can read.
My first freelance piece was for IGN in 2018. At that time, all I was doing was writing on a personal website
Yeah,
and my school newspaper. That's all I had to show them. I didn't have years of professional experience. They were my first byline as a freelancer, and they just took a chance, and that's all it
nice.
takes. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. So, okay, journalism. What stories would you love to see, but you haven't gotten the opportunity or gotten somebody to say yes to yet? Is there something like you fantasize about being able to write?
I would love to interview the directors of Pokemon
The
and
directors of
ask them how accessible their games are, and if they know how accessible and impactful their games are for disabled players. Because I fully believe, for me personally, and for other physically disabled people, Pokemon is one of the most accessible experiences that I've ever played. So I really want to ask them if they're aware and how design decisions impact that accessibility. That's honestly my dream piece for me, is to be able to interview them.
to interview the creators of the Pokemon
Yeah,
games.
yeah.
So, do you feel playing it? Do you feel like it was actively built that way, or do you feel like it was just a happy accident?
I feel like it was originally designed for everyone to be able to play it, which in turn made it more accessible
Yeah,
for disabled people.
yeah, interesting. Yeah, I'd be curious to hear like what ground rules they laid out at the very beginning, right?
Yeah.
To make it work for everyone, as many people as possible. That'd be really interesting. That's everything I have. I just want to thank you, Grant, so much for talking to me. I love seeing you on Twitter and seeing your enthusiasm about writing and journalism. It always brings a smile to my face. And if anybody out there has a connection to the folks who built the Pokemon game and started it all, or a connection to an outlet that would be interested in Grant's dream story, that would be awesome.
Please,
Yeah.
please and thank you.
Well, that's it for me. Thank you for joining us, Grant, and we'll see you later.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you for watching. I hope you liked that. As usual, be sure to subscribe to this channel for more interviews, more videos of creating custom controllers for people. If you want to learn more about the Controller Project, where I do custom controllers for people, you can find us at thecontrollerproject.com. That link is down below as well. You can support us on Patreon. I have to be honest, I'm horrible about updating the Patreon. I'm trying to be better, but anything that you do sign up for over there does help get controllers into people's hands. All right, I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.